Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Zaleski Sports Show on this Monday morning, November 25th. Hunting season, and some teams went hunting down in Camp Randall for a state championship. We'll talk about that. We will also then put a bow on the 2019 high school football season. It's over. That's it. Moving on. Basketball, boys and girls, wrestling, hockey, gymnastics, all coming up. Also talk about NFL right at the very end of the show. Get you caught up on anything you missed from NFL action last night, although most people would rather just skip on by. Let's see here. Special guest in the studio today, Assumption girls head basketball coach Ryan Klein will join us on today's show, and we'll see if we can talk a little bit about Badgers Gophers Saturday football. Coming up, it's a jam-packed show, so we're going to speed right through it, though. Jason Zaleski and Steve Maves here, as you are listening and watching here on this Monday morning. So it was state football championship weekend at Camp Randall in Madison. We're going to go 1 through 7 here as we recap state champions from the state of Wisconsin in 2019. Muskego repeats as state champion. They take down Bayport 21-10. Brookfield East upsets their way all the way through the brackets. They take down Waunakee 31-30. Brookfield East, number 4 seed in the tournament. Yeah, and a missed extra point by Waunakee to tie it up at the end. They got the onside kickback, but couldn't do anything with it at the end. Big congrats to Brookfield East pulling off their upsets throughout the playoffs. DeForest, 8-7 over Menasha. A tough football game there. 32 seconds left. DeForest finally scores. They go for 2 with a jump pass with a 2-point conversion, and they knock off the Menasha Blue Jays. Yeah, crazy. It was a fun Friday if you were watching any of those games or listening to your favorite local audio broadcast. Thursday wrapped up with a blowout, and it was kind of scheduled to be like that, Steve. Catholic Memorial, 35-0 over Kiel. And then we go to Division 5. That was scheduled to be a blowout as well. A lot of us talking in the press box about what the final score would be, and it was a big number on one side and a very small number, sometimes a 0 on the other side. A couple of us, as we were headed down to the field, kind of jokingly said, well, if this one turns out the other way, it'd be the biggest upset in the state of Wisconsin football history. I don't know about biggest, but it ranks up there as Lake Country Lutheran take down the Stratford Tigers 22-13. Stratford had a 13-0 lead, about 7 minutes left in the first quarter. Didn't score again. Before I turn it over to Steve, again, a number of us media types talking on the side. I'm sure there's plenty of chatter in the press box where Steve was as well, as he was calling that game live, about the fact that, so it was late in the first quarter. Hartle had just, Lake Country Lutheran's quarterback, Hartle had just thrown a 40-yard pass down the Stratford sideline. 2 plays later, Stratford picked off a pass. So that one play didn't equal a score, but all of us said all Lake Country Lutheran has to do is throw the ball and they're going to win this game, and that's exactly what happened. Well, as you mentioned, Stratford got off to such a quick start. We're up 13-0, and right before halftime, Lake Country Lutheran was able to score. Mm-hmm. They cut it to 13-7, and Lake Country Lutheran, and props to Coach Brosgeller and company, they rolled out Mr. Hartle to his right, to his left, because they knew if he was right in his pocket or right in the pocket that he would get swarmed by that Stratford defense, and got a couple big catches from their wide receivers, a couple great runs by Hartle as well, and then right at the end, Chase Caliendo with 2 huge sacks to end the game, 22-13, a safety for Lake Country Lutheran, and first state championship for the Lightning in school history, just their second trip to state in Coach Brosgill's 17th year. So congrats to Lake Country Lutheran. Stratford, 2 all-state players going down in that game. Yep. And so Lake Country Lutheran making all the right adjustments at halftime to take down the Stratford Tigers. Vaughn Bright not able to make it to the end. He re-injured. He wasn't healthy to begin with, and re-injured himself in the second quarter. And along that same time, I believe that was maybe maybe that could have been it was second quarter. Jacob Michelson, defensive end, also hurt his knee and did not return in that game. Hartle for Lake Country Lutheran, just a sophomore, so he's going to come back, but just a genius game plan, really, by the Lightning. And again, I spent the whole game on the Stratford sideline. Their coach was just confused, flustered. There was a timeout called. Again, I'm trying to remember which way everybody was pointed, but it was late in the game. I believe it was the fourth quarter. The Stratford defensive backs were confused. Defensive strategy, they were confused. Coaches were confused. Coach called a timeout. And kids came over. They were trying to figure something out. I think it was a third and something coming up, which Lake Country Lutheran converted. Stratford came back on the field with 10 after the defensive timeout. I mean, it was just, and so congratulations to the Lightning. In Division 6,
they got that wrong.
They do have that wrong. I was just reading through that score. St. Mary Springs over Regis. So St. Mary Springs back-to-back.
They did win 7-0.
State champions, 7-0 over Regis. And then the first game of the day, which we also had the pleasure of broadcasting for you. And again, highlights available of the Stratford game and of this Edgar game as Edgar falls to Blackhawk Warren for the second year in a row. 6-0. And really, Steve, that game all happened in the fourth quarter for me. Edgar was in the end zone. Ball was on receiver's hands twice. Once was caught, called back for a penalty. The next one was temporarily in the receiver's hands and then jarred loose. Edgar falls 6-0.
Well, and the big turning point right there, obviously you said the fourth quarter, but Blackhawk had it with about 4 minutes left in the second quarter, and they were pinned back at their own 7-yard line. And then Jalen Rufinek for Blackhawk Warren, a huge 53-yard run, and then they were able to convert on a 30-yard touchdown pass, which put them up 6-0. And that was it from there. As you mentioned, Edgar was able to smell the end zone just once, and it got called back. And then a great defensive play, knocking it out of Kyle Brewster's hands in the end zone. And then they were able to get the ball back before the end of the game, and then an interception. But again, a lot of low-scoring games on Thursday, and then one more on Friday. But Edgar falls again to Blackhawk Warren. As I was mentioning during the broadcast, every Edgar runners-up were followed by a championship. They lost in 2000 and won in 2001. And it was that way for 6 of their 7 state championships, and this one just not going their way this year.
That happens often in high school sports and in college sports, too. Maybe everything, really, but you get there, and it's such a big stage, a lot going on, you're kind of overcome with all this other stuff that's going on, and when you go back then that next year, then all that newness, all that bigness is gone, and then you're able to convert. But I thought that was just a wild game, and obviously a wild finish. Again, you can find highlights over on Facebook at Zaleski Sports of the Blackhawk Warren Edgar game and Lake Country Lutheran Stratford. You can see how it all happened. You can also go online at Zaleski Sports on YouTube, and you can re-listen to the broadcast if you want to. Steve will be, for infinity, broadcasting those two games as those things stay out on YouTube forever. All right, well, that puts an end to the high school football season. It was a fun season. It certainly didn't go down the way that a couple of the local teams would have preferred it to, but everybody had a great season. Again, they were how many teams started? 300 some odd teams in high school football in the state of Wisconsin, and only 7 get to call themselves champions. So it's an honor just to be down there. I know sometimes on that field holding the silver ball, it's tough to understand that it was an honor to be there. Similar to the Olympics, it's been said, and I agree with it. They award a gold, a silver, and a bronze, and only 2 competitors are ever happy standing on that medal stand, the gold medal winner and the bronze medal winner, because they're the 2 that won at the end, and the silver medal winner lost and stands there coming in with a loss. So, but you get to stand on the platform in the Olympics or on the football field or wherever your sport is, and hold one of those balls. That's certainly an honor, and I think the kids eventually realize that. I hope they do in this case. All right, so football season behind us. That can mean only one thing: basketball season and winter sports and everything that comes with it: wrestling, gymnastics, hockey, Curling, too. High school curling in the state of Wisconsin.
Bowling.
Yeah. Boys swimming. All the fun stuff coming up, and Zaleski Sports will be there for all of it. As a matter of fact, we've already been there for some of it. I believe, if my count is right, and it usually is, we had 4 basketball games last week that we broadcast live, along with the high school state championship games. A couple, and these were all girls' games last week. Auburndale has played twice already. So they got off to a fast start in their season. They're 1-1. Auburndale beat Greenwood on Tuesday and then fell at home to Assumption on Thursday, and that game was taking place as Steve and I were on our way back from Camp Randall in Madison. Randy Paul, 1320 AM WFHR on the call, and we'll have a few more games. I know we had Marshfield girls basketball, AM 1450 WDLB's Gene Delisio on the call there, and a couple others. We had, how about this? We had Neilsville already in action, and they started with a conference game over against Loyal. Always a heated rivalry over there in the Clover Belt. And fun stuff going on over there. Larry Hazer helped out on the call over there in Neilsville as the Warriors got off to a winning start as they took down the Loyal Greyhounds. Last year in that game, Bella Opelt, guard, fantastic point guard. You want to talk about she's a junior, one of the premier guards in central Wisconsin. Bella Opelt is that. She was our Highlight House player of the game in Game 1 last year, and wouldn't you know it, Highlight House player of the game this year in Week 1. She led all scorers with 18 points as Neilsville got out on the winning foot here in 2019. Girls previews all over the place, and you can find them all at ZaleskiSports.com as we previewed 7 or 8, I think it was 8 local teams. We've got a few more coming, including Coach Ryan Klein coming here from Assumption girls basketball today. By the time it's done, we'll have talked to 13 girls basketball coaches, 13 boys basketball coaches, getting you all set up for this 2019-2020 basketball season. We've got a big week of live sports this week, and it all starts on Tuesday. And I hate to say this already, Steve, I really do, but it all starts on Tuesday. That's November 26th, if there's no snow. Yeah. Snow in the forecast. Frankie, the weatherman out in Canada, has claimed that some parts of Wisconsin could get up to a foot of snow tomorrow. Others here in the local area say 4 to 8 inches. We'll see if that holds true. Hopefully it all melts. So it could be one of those deals where the snow comes down, and by the end of it, 6 inches of snow fell, but 5 inches melted, and that's what we're hoping for. And we want to get the show on the road here and get these games going. Anyway, so Tuesday, 3 high school basketball games live at ZaleskiSports.com. It all starts with Colby at Columbus. That'll be 92.3 WOSQ on the call. Lucas Hoheisel producing. Watch it live at ZaleskiSports.com. JV, 5:30 start. That's when we go live over at Columbus Catholic on Tuesday. And then the varsity girls, they're 1-0 with a win over Rib Lake earlier in last week. We'll take on last year state entrant Colby Hornets. Colby coming in at 1-1. They dropped their opener against Medford and then beat Greenwood. I believe that was on Friday night. So that's game 1. All right, not enough there. We'll go on to game 2. It gets better. Boys basketball, Nina at Marshfield. And, kind of a big one there right off the bat. Marshfield, we'll see what kind of boys basketball team that Coach Scheuer has. Coach Scheuer's season preview will be coming out early next week. I will be on the call for that one. And then it is a rematch of last year's regional final in girls basketball, and we're going to talk to Coach Klein about this because it was one of the most exciting, wild games I had ever seen, and fortunately I got to be a part of it up in the broadcast booth. This year, Steve, you'll call that game. It's Edgar at Assumption, and it was a wild finish last year. We'll see if they can duplicate that this year. Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of energy they come out with. I mean, only the second game of the year for Assumption, knowing that it is a conference game and a rematch from last year. Kendall Schmidt, big part of that last year for Assumption. They, as you mentioned, able to take down Auburndale in game 1.
see how Edgar comes out as well, being on the road for the against the Royals on Tuesday. It should be one heck of a game, as you mentioned. A lot of early conference games for a lot of these girls teams. So as you mentioned, you'll talk to Coach Klein in just a moment when he gets here. But it's going to be an exciting start to the girls basketball season for sure.
Assumption starts with 2 Merriwood South games right off the bat. And you might as well just get into it right away, and why not? They'll have some non-conference games this weekend. We'll talk about those in just a moment. But drum roll, please. We're going to unveil the first Power 5. This is not a ranking, but these are the girls' basketball Power 5, and what this is the 5 teams that we think are pretty special, and you should as a sports fan, go watch these teams play. And this will be girls Power 5 this week. Well, the boys Power 5 is out there. We'll talk about them, though, next week. But you can go to ZaleskiSports.com and find out the girls Power 5 and the boys Power 5. Of course, follow your favorite team. If your favorite team, your home team's playing, obviously go watch them. But if you got some extra time on your hands, or when the highlights come out, or if they're live, and many of these, when you get into the Power 5, you're going to be live. There's no doubt about that. But these are teams we think are ones to keep an eye on, and the list will fluctuate. They are in alphabetical order because they're not a ranking, but they are what we believe to be the 5 most interesting teams, teams with a little special edge here in central Wisconsin. So in alphabetical order, the Assumption Royals make the Power 5, and we think they're got a lot of good things going on at Assumption. The Colby Hornets, and I'll say this until proven otherwise, is what I'll say there. They did fall to Medford earlier in the year. We'll see what they're able to do against Columbus Catholic in a Cloverbelt East clash on Tuesday night. Again, that game's live at ZaleskiSports.com. Talked about Neillsville already. They're in our Power 5. We think they are one of the favorites in the Cloverbelt East, if not the all-out consensus favorite to win the conference in the Cloverbelt East this year. Newman Cardinals, you can't have a Power 5 without Newman. You just can't. Now, new coach over there. We'll talk about that in the coming days, coming weeks. But Newman, state basketball team last year, just like Colby, and they are in our Power 5. And then the Spash Panther is going to round out our alphabetical list, our Power 5. So again, Assumption, Colby, Neillsville, Newman, Spash. Spash led by Division I commit Leah Ernest. She'll play basketball over at Valparaiso. Zoe Fink in double digits. Now, they did fall to DeForest this past week. And now I think those DeForest girls were lifted by the fact that the boys' football team came down with a win the day before they played. But keep an eye on Coach Terpstra's Spash Panthers. They will battle at the top of the Wisconsin Valley Conference all year. And always a fun team to watch. So, Steve, Power 5 is out. Thoughts?
Well, you just talked about Newman, new coach, as you mentioned, but you have 3 returning seniors that are top of their game. And a lot of these, Newman being there at state for basketball, at state for volleyball, at state for 8-man football. I mean, they just are able to get the job done year in and year out. And credit to the girls. I mean, they are able to practice and make their way to there. And as you mentioned, Assumption, Colby, Neillsville, and Spash all at the top of their game as well. Spash, as you mentioned, fell to DeForest, but once they get into the Wisconsin Valley Conference, they should roll pretty good. So.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to it. We're also looking forward to talking to Assumption girls basketball head coach Ryan Klein as he enters the studio now, and we've been looking forward to this all morning, Coach. We love having you here. Good to see you again, man. Yeah, have a seat here. Have a seat. We were just I'll catch you up on what you missed here. We were just going through something new we're doing here at Zaleski Sports this year. We call it our Power 5. It's an alphabetical list of who we think are some of the top girls programs in central Wisconsin, and the Assumption Royals are on our list.
We should probably be first then, right? If it's alphabetical.
It's alphabetical. You are first. You got that right. Coach, thanks for joining us today. Appreciate you taking time out of the morning here to take a breather out of school and come down here and talk to us.
Yeah, we just got done with some continuously compounded interest problems in the pre-calc class, and here we are. Girls basketball now.
I have no idea what you just said, so we're going to keep moving. Something to do with math, though. I know that. All right, Coach. Well, let's get right to it here. First, just remind our audience how long you've been coaching, how many years this has been here in girls basketball, and then what keeps you coming back every year.
Well, I started coaching as soon as I got back to Assumption. This was 14 years ago. And I started off under Coach Burkhauser, and I got to coach with the guys program and the girls program back in my younger days, which was fun. And then I got a wife and kids and all that jazz, and eventually it led me to the head job here, and never really aspired to be a head coach, but took her on, and now this is my 4th year doing it. And like anything, you spend some time doing it, it gets easier and easier with time, and got a great group of girls that certainly help. I mean, not only with the basketball end of things, but they help with the family stuff. They babysit the kids and all that jazz, so it's been good.
You started off the season last week on Thursday night. Now, you had to battle state football, as it turned out. That was going on at the same time, but a pretty good crowd over in Auburndale, and you and the girls come out with a win. You come out with a conference win right away. Tell us about that game on Thursday night.
Well, it's tough starting the season with we've got 2 tough conference games to start the year, and getting Auburndale was great over at their place. I've lost plenty of games over in Auburndale through the years, so I was a little nervous going into that one. I didn't know exactly where we were at, and one of the biggest things for us this year is our guard play needs to complement our bigs, and I think in the second half there. Natalie Weisenbeck, she really kind of gave us a spark. We have 2 seniors on the team, and it's funny just when you look out there and you see a senior versus a sophomore or a junior, the little things that they do or they can bring defensively for you, and that's what really sparked us. Natalie's defense and some of our ball pressure kind of put us over the top on that one. And so I'm looking forward to that moving forward. We have a lot of younger guards that are going to continue to develop, and it's good to see our seniors playing at a high level already early on.
I called the Auburndale Greenwood game on Tuesday. I talked to you that next morning, and we talked about that a little bit. 4 of your girls were at that game, kind of watching there. Is that the kind of expectation you have of them, or are they doing this on their own and just getting out and taking this season by the horns right away?
Yeah, well, it's nice in a basketball program to have some basketball junkies, that's important. So I think these girls have played a lot of ball with, the girls from Auburndale or wherever else. So they like to go and watch their friends play. That's a big one. As far as the scouting goes, it's nice to get a look at a team. But that's all on their own. I got better things to do on a Tuesday night. So if they want to go do it, that's more power to them. I've got assistant coaches, too, that are out scouting and filming, and other guys in the community that help out, and that's great. It's nice to have every advantage you can going into a game.
Yeah, I thought it was very impressive, especially with the season opener and those girls to make the trip up there, and it just shows to me anyway. They're taking the son of a gun seriously here this year, and they're going to do what they can. The other thing too, Coach, your 2 tallest girls, there happen to be 2 of them that were sitting a couple rows in front of me. There, you've really got size that is the envy of a lot of basketball coaches in the area. Your starting 5. Probably taller than some boys' basketball programs around. What does that size do for you as a coach?
Well, it makes me look good at times. You can't coach size is what they say, and I do my best to coach them up. But it's not just that they're big; they have a work ethic. I mean, the Bone Sisters, Jessie, they're in the gym all the time, and they work on their craft. So, and they enjoy it, so they play with a passion. And like you said, they want to this year. They want to do big things. So they're willing to put in the time, and it's a blessing, it's a blessing.
Last question about the players, then we'll get into expectations here about this year, and including your game tomorrow night at home against Merriwood South rival Edgar. Coach, you and I have talked about this a couple times. You do have that size. Sometimes, though, that size maybe hasn't been accustomed to going after rebounds, jumping, getting off the floor. What do you do in practice? How do you encourage those girls that maybe for all their elementary and middle school career just had to reach up and grab the ball, and now they're going to have to jump, and they've been contested on the boards before. How do you battle that in practice?
Well, with a lot of yelling. I mean, that's basically what it boils down to. I've talked before about the radius of a player, and the radius of a player doesn't just extend past their arms. Their feet can extend their radius. And so, doing your work early, I know I watched film of the Auburndale game, and you watch Maddie and how Maddie works on the glass, and her feet are always moving. She's finding a body, and she's tracking down balls. And, I pointed out to the girls in film the other day, that's a special thing to be able to move your feet and, create contact, be physical, and then go track it down. So there is a lot of yelling at practice. I mean, nothing sets me off more than like a missed rebound on a free throw or something like that. I don't know if you remember back in the day when you were on that lower block. They moved it up a block here. I don't know how many years ago, but man, we used to get screamed at, and we were way down there underneath the basket. And now they're up a block higher. I don't think we should ever give one of those up. So, yeah, I lose my mind a little bit every once in a while, and I think it's pretty ingrained in them that that's an important thing for us. When I ask the girls what's important for our success, they always chime back, defense and rebounding, and that's what we preach. So.
Well, Coach, we're really looking forward to watching all the teams. Your team again makes our Power Five, so we put a special note about the Assumption Royals girls basketball program here in 2019. We think the girls will stay in that Power Five all year. It's up to them. Just as it is up to them to compete for a conference championship. Assumption, Newman, is it a two-horse race in the Marywood South?
Oh, no. I mean, certainly Newman's right up top there, but Stratford's always a great program, too. Edgar's got a lot of girls returning, so they're going to be tough again. I know when we played them in the playoffs last year, it was neck and neck. So, we're going to be in that race, hopefully. But we have not we never put ourselves on top of the conference in the last 5-6 years, so we got to earn it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to have to earn a win tomorrow night. That's a rematch of last year's regional final. Folks, number one job, always get down to the gym, cheer on those your favorite team in person if you can't. Zaleskisports.com, also a place to watch the Assumption Edgar game on Tuesday night. One of the most wild games I had ever seen and been a part of last year. It was a Kendall Schmidt three-pointer in the corner to tie the game in regulation, and then you and the girls ran away with it there in overtime a little bit. What's it going to take to maybe secure this one a little bit earlier on Tuesday night?
Well, I hate to just beat a dead horse, but defense and rebounding, that's another one of those games where and it pokes its head out all the time against us, is that our rebounding, we can play some decent defense, but if we force a team to take a tough shot, a lot of times their offense is generated by the fact that we can't track the ball down then. And then they pick up garbage points or get to the free throw line or whatever it may be. So we got to hit them hard on the boards and be efficient offensively. I think we had like 19 turnovers against Auburndale, and if we continue to turn the ball over at that rate all year, that's going to be a problem. So I'll attribute a little bit of that to first game jitters, and some of our younger girls need to kind of figure out the pace of the game, but take care of the basketball and be efficient offensively, and I like our chances.
All right, Assumption girls head basketball coach Ryan Klein. Coach, thanks for stopping by. I know you got some more math. You got to carry the one and do some numbers, some exponential smoothing, and some other stuff going on. So thanks for stopping in here this morning.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. We will begin to bring our show in for a landing here today. We thank Coach Klein for stopping in, telling us about what he knows about Assumption girls basketball, and Steve Maves will take his spot. And Steve, wouldn't you know it, it leaves us just enough time for the NFL here as we'll wrap things up here. Green Bay fell hard in San Francisco last night, 37-8. It was it was done from the start. It was a Rodgers sack and fumble picked up by the 49ers down to the 2-yard line, and the 49ers led from start to finish. I said 5 sacks. If I didn't, I said it now. 5 sacks in that game. Rodgers 140 yards passing. 104 yards. Not enough. And just a game to forget for the Green Bay Packers on Sunday night.
Awful. I mean, that's all you can say, really. I mean, coming off of a bye week, being able to travel, your quarterback wasn't ready, your running game, your offensive line wasn't ready. You talked about J.K. Scott a couple times over the past couple weeks. Mm-hmm. He came into the game with averaging over 45 yards per punt. He averaged just under 35 yesterday. And so, obviously, he had to punt 6 or 7 times, but it was just wasn't where Green Bay wanted to be. Obviously, trying to put themselves atop of the NFC, have a little bit of an easier schedule to end the year. New York or the Giants next week, and then the Redskins, Bears, and Vikings and Lions to end the year. The Vikings have a tougher schedule. The 49ers have a very tough schedule. So hopefully, Packers can win out and maybe get secure that number 1 seed somehow.
Seems like that Vikings game that'll solve the NFC North this year. It would appear as though the Packers should win all those other games. We'll see what the Vikings are able to do. Vikings had a bye week yesterday, so they were off, and they got to watch the Lions drop a game over at Washington, 19-16. Now, Haskins gets his first win as an NFL quarterback, bawling his eyes out on the sideline. And then the Bears, they'll win. So, again, when you play your game or you're on a bye, you're always looking at your other divisional opponents. So, 1-1 there. So the Bears keep pace as far as that's concerned, although I don't think there's much to be worried about with the Bears. 19-14 over the Giants. And then Monday Night Football tonight, it's the Los Angeles Rams and the Baltimore Ravens. A lot of people think Ravens are the favorites over in the AFC. As it turns out now, they would have to go through New England, though, to do that, but they beat the Patriots earlier this year. So that's what we know for now. And Badgers, Gophers on Saturday, and they will play for the half of the Big Ten championship over there, and the right to go and lose to Ohio State the week after is what they're playing for there. So, all right, I think that's enough for today, Steve. I think we did pretty good.
Yeah, a lot of fun. A lot of fun just talking about the Badgers, going up to Minneapolis, trying to get the Paul Bunyan axe back after losing it last year for the first time in 15 years or whatever it was. Big game, College Game Day going up there with ESPN. So all eyes on Badgers, Gophers next week.
They'll have to win that game at TCF Bank Stadium over in Minneapolis. All right, guys, that'll do it for this week. Have a great week, everybody, and go Sports.